Welcome to the Let's Go Racing Family Podcast, sharing our love for NASCAR, running, and just racing through life.
Hosted by Sebastian, Giovanni, Karen, Tony, and me, Johann.
Each week, we'll talk about our view of the world through the lens of racing.
We are at 8 to go here at the end of the Busch Clash at the LA Coliseum, and this race has been absolutely amazing from what we've got it to. Currently, we have Joey Logano in the lead with Kyle Busch chasing him down in second place. Guys, what do you think?
I think this is going to be, if you don't remember last year's finish in Daytona, the top two ended up crashing, and then the third place driver ended up winning, which was Kyle Busch.
It's going to be intense, and knowing that Kyle Busch is behind Joey Logano, I wouldn't put it past him to.
Dude, Joey looks so nervous right now.
him.
And let's remind our listeners, our viewers, that just a few laps ago in this same race, Joey bumped Kyle
Kyle's got a bit
Busch
smoky.
to take the lead and actually win that segment. So, Kyle Busch will not hold back.
4 to go now. Holy
Four
cow.
to go. If Kyle's going to do
And-
anything, you better do it now.
Giovanni, how fast is your heart racing right now?
Oh, really fast.
3 to go.
Should we have put Johann between the two, Joey Logano and Kyle Busch
Oh,
fans?
my word.
I'm wondering if it was a bad idea to have you guys sitting right next to each other.
There
Nope,
you
that was
go.
great. Imagine if
Oh,
a
no, I
caution
don't think
happened.
Kyle's
Kyle
got-
looks a bit-
Come
my
on,
problem
Joey.
is they're getting to lap traffic, and
Oh,
this is
no,
where...
yes.
Oh, my goodness.
It's 2 to go, man. 2 to go.
2 to go.
Caution, maybe?
You're screaming into our
Right.
listeners' ears. It's all right. You get excited, but
White
All right,
flag.
white
here we go. One to
White
go.
flag, one to go.
Oh, Bubba.
Bubba.
Okay, I think he just went up. Come on, Joey.
Kyle's going to drive it in deep. He's going
I
to...
think Kyle's going to
no.
have to dive bomb him to have a shot.
No,
He's
no,
not.
no.
Let's go!
No. Yes.
Logano with the
Joey
W.
Logano
Winner
handles it off.
of
Let's
the
go.
Clash
What is
2022's Joey Logano.
what does that tell you that what happened here?
Whoa, what happened here?
happened? Oh.
Martin Truex
I mean,
apparently.
not exactly
spun-
Joey Logano fans there that had
Yeah,
wrecked in
all
front of
three
him.
of those.
So I didn't know if that was on purpose, but looked like.
Let's go.
It looked like
That
they were
happened at the
stopping
back,
his
yeah.
victory lane. I mean, victory lap.
So what does that tell you that Joey Logano won a new type of race?
I think he's going to be doing good with
just
these new
like he
package.
did last year.
I was gonna
Johann,
say,
what was
he-
that other race that he won?
The Bristol Dirt, and he's claimed 2 Coliseums.
So wait, they just called him what? The kid who won the dirt race,
Yeah.
and now he's the kid that won the shortest racetrack at the Coliseum.
Let's go. Oh my word, that was so cool. I think definitely for most of the race, the most dominant drivers had to be Kyle Busch and Joey Logano. And then you had some other guys like Justin Haley up there. But unfortunately,
For
near the
sure.
end, he got taken out by Kyle Larson. But
Yeah, that-
definitely those two were the most dominant for the entire race, running 1 and 2 consistently.
yeah, it was a great race
Yeah,
today.
and then before unfortunately he broke something in his car, Tyler
Those cars look
Tyler
great.
Reddick was up there,
doing
too.
really good.
By the way, those cars look really nice. I
They
like
are
the new,
very
I'm
nice.
absolutely
the
loving
new
them.
I need to
paint
get-
scheme.
I need to get used to them.
I like the shape of the car. They're like
Yeah.
smaller, more not so long. I like
Yeah.
them. They kind of remind me of like the Lightning McQueen.
There's
Those
also like
cars.
there's a change in aerodynamics and the way that the cars are running. There we go, Joey.
Woohoo! Go,
Celebrating.
Joey!
Let's go.
Wow.
For me, it's like the grills
Oh,
are
my-
like super huge, and it makes the car look like wider or chunkier.
I like it.
I
think it
really
looks-
like it.
I
I
think
like
they
the
look
movement of
fast.
the numbers on the side.
like
I'm gonna
the
get used to it,
rims.
and I'm gonna love it. It's just that's like seeing these cars for the first time, because
Look at that.
this was the first time anybody saw these cars in action. It's crazy.
Okay, I still can't
There
get
we
over the
go.
fact that they raced at the LA Coliseum. Like this is like the smallest place that you could put cars at this size in.
This is absolutely
Yeah.
I mean,
incredible.
let's remember this was built for the 1984 Olympics for track and field, and they just put 23 stock cars to race in
Yeah,
an
it's-
asphalt track.
And Johann, what was the size of the track? Again, Bristol being a half mile, Martinsville about a half mile. What is this track?
Like, would it be a half mile?
No, a half of a half. It's like a quarter mile.
It's I was gonna say it's
Wow.
less than
This
half a
track
mile.
is incredibly small.
Didn't Jamie McMurray run
Yeah, he did.
like he physically ran around that track in
Yeah,
under
they
a
had the
minute?
camera. Yeah, just earlier this week, they had him run around, and he almost did it in under a minute. I think it was like 60.4 seconds.
Yeah.
Still
But he
impressive.
ran, but I will say he ran it in basically a suit. He didn't have a tie on, but he had a jacket and pants, slacks, and
Okay, now he's
dress
just
shoes.
flexing.
So yeah.
I love seeing every time that Joey wins. He's so adorable. It's like it's his first race ever when he wins. I just love watching him. He's one guy that I would love to meet in person.
Fun fact about Joey's win is that Joey has won on both of the tracks that have had a football game in the track. Bristol had a football game in the track, and the Rams ended up playing for a couple seasons in this stadium. And Joey Logano has won in both tracks.
You know, if they don't bring back the LA Coliseum, which I'm hoping they do, this is such an incredible track, and the event, everything building up to it was so cool. Like
Yeah.
the torch was incredible, and you had like 7 grand marshals there. It was just so cool to see the build up to such an incredible race.
It was quite a spectacular. I couldn't believe it. We've been to Clash races before, but this was like, wow. It was just a whole like event presentation that went on. It was very, very cool. Start off and kick off to the new NASCAR season.
So Kyle Busch is being interviewed right now, and because of rights, we don't have the rights to air what that interview is, so that's why we can't even hear it. We're just watching it right now.
He doesn't
I can
look
just
too happy.
imagine what he's
I was
saying
gonna
right now.
say,
He
well,
does not look very
As
happy.
usual, when he comes in second place, he's not happy.
Yeah. I mean,
Just his facial expressions, we already know.
I gotta say, one thing I really liked about the Clash was that they brought almost all of the big drivers, like it was about like 36 to 40 drivers to the track, and they had them qualify with these heat races. And I thought that was really cool because in previous years, the Clash was, did you previously win? Did you qualify on the pole?
Are you a past
So
champion?
it was like a
Yeah.
set specific rules. I really like this because there's now a new level of competition and a new aspect to it rather than just, okay, you've previously won this, you're automatically in, have fun. This is like drivers are really competing for this, and we get different rosters. Like Justin Haley last season was not in the Clash. He wasn't a top 10, even top
Daniel
20.
Suarez wasn't in the Clash.
Bubba Wallace. This is so cool because we get to see all these drivers. And I think this also has to do with the new car package. Again, absolutely loving it.
One thing that we did not see in this race, because again of the nature of the race, and that it was heats and all of that, were pit stops. I think that's going to be super interesting when we talk about the new car. One of the new pieces of news is this year it's one
lug nut.
lug nut. So that's why I think those rims actually look really cool. So it'll be really, really interesting to see how that plays out in 2 weeks when they come back to this side of the country and head to Daytona for the
500.
Yeah.
That's going to be a
Oh,
fun
so
one.
much new stuff this season.
The
I'm excited.
500, the 500 is going to be wild. If this was wild and not even a restrictor plate or a super speedway, the 500 is going to be wild.
Yeah, and a few drivers actually surprised us. We already mentioned how Justin Haley, Bubba Wallace, and Daniel Suarez were able to get in.
Landon Castle was also there.
Yeah.
AJ Allmendinger.
Like, then there were some drivers who usually are like very good and get into these events that didn't make it. The big
Kurt
ones
Busch,
that come to
Brad
mind.
Keselowski.
Yeah, Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski, Eric Almirola failed to get in. And
to the final main event.
yeah.
By the way, LCR2 or LCQ2, for anyone that doesn't know, that was a last chance to qualify race. This happened earlier before the main event. That race
was
was
wild.
and
Yeah,
so much
it
fun
was.
to watch. And it wasn't even the main event.
It was crazy to see these guys just throwing it all out there, and really at one point it didn't care. Ty Dillon felt like he was just he was going to hit whatever was in front of him.
Yeah.
and at one point made it in, but then NASCAR ruled that
He had unfortunately
jumped
the gun.
He jumped the
or
start.
Jumped the start.
Yeah, that must have been hard on him.
So the whole event was fantastic, very exciting, great for TV. I'm sure if you were there in person, an awesome event. So
Yeah, it was.
what
was
an
really cool.
exciting way to start the NASCAR season. And the whole reason why they're there is to bring new fans to the sport, to show people how exciting it is. and that it's more than just what they thought it was. And so I'm very, very excited for the season. And this is just the beginning. This is a preseason race. The points paying race isn't for 2 more weeks.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I actually think that there were a lot of people at this track that normally wouldn't have been at a NASCAR race.
Yeah.
And
It's
I
a
say
beautiful
that
introduction.
because from being to so many different races, when you span across the people that are watching, the spectators, there's a lot of NASCAR gear for your favorite drivers, NASCAR in general, old, drivers, but there wasn't a lot of NASCAR gear amongst the fans. So I'm thinking that it brought out
A lot
of crowds that normally
That's
wouldn't be in
interesting.
NASCAR.
I didn't think of it that way, but now that you say it, that is very, very true. Like you didn't see as many traditional jackets and shirts and hats and all that, which is probably really great for the sport because that means these people are now seeing the sport in person for the first time ever. I talked to somebody in the off season that works with NASCAR and talked about the fact that this is a very important initiative for the sport and growing the sport for a number of reasons. Obviously, the fact that it's in California. Fontana in the Ontario race, that racetrack is in SoCal. It's a lot of people think of it as LA, but it's still a good 40 minutes from like
I was going
downtown.
to say, this is in
LA.
the heart
This
of
is in
LA.
the heart of LA, and this is why it's so important. And then the fact that short track racing is so popular. And again, they're going to convert Fontana into a short track race after this season. And so what a great opportunity to showcase this sport. And also, again, so smart to do it in between the Super Bowl and the NFL championship games. Normally this race will happen, the Clash, the week before the 500 after the Super Bowl. And Super Bowl's happening in LA this year, and they just took advantage of the timing. I mean, everything about it was great. I hope all the numbers come in. I hope a lot of folks watched it on TV because if they did, they were in for a real treat, especially in between weekends of football, and really expose the sport to a whole new potential fandom. So I'm very excited. And like I said, I think NASCAR is very excited. Giovanni, you said you hope that NASCAR comes back.
I hope they keep this track.
They're
They
going to do something again.
All-Star race.
They're going to do
All-Star
it
race.
here. That would be awesome. That would be really awesome.
An all-star race.
I mean, they're going to do something. They're going to do something. Nothing's been announced, but if this is as successful as it looks to us as it was, because one thing I was also worried about, would the people at the track come and watch it? And that track, when the main event was happening, was pretty darn full. And you had a lot of people taking notice. And I think that can only get bigger. I'm pretty confident that this sport is going to be back in that stadium, or if not, in other really, really cool places. So it's really important to the sport. And this is, again, why we do the podcast, why we're excited. We want this sport to grow, and we want new people to be exposed to it in ways that they haven't before.
Yeah. And just a thought, another thing they could do with this track, this is just something I think that would be really cool if they did. What if NASCAR had some of the older drivers, or retired drivers, like Jeff Gordon, Clint Boyer, Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, get all those drivers back, put them in some old stock cars and drive them around this track. This is like a fun exhibition race.
That'd be wild. That would actually be wild.
That would be crazy.
Like getting all these old names back, just them, putting them on the track and seeing how they fare. It would be really, really cool.
Where's Joey going now? We're watching the rest of the end.
Crew.
Oh, they're going up
I
to
think that's going to be
celebrate.
his victory lane. It's
Oh,
going to
okay.
be at the
It's
very
so
top
small.
Wow.
of the Coliseum, like
Gets
right
to
underneath
climb that
right underneath the torch.
I mean, that has got to be pretty awesome to be the first driver to win at this type of event, this venue. That's got to be pretty cool.
Absolute honor.
Something funny about this track is that it's so small, the haulers can't fit. Like they literally just showed the drivers' cars, like they're driving into the tunnel and then driving out of the tunnel.
The same tunnel the USC football team needs to run down to get onto the game, they had the cars going through the tunnel and to get on the stadium. So
That looks so cool. That trophy is so nice too.
So we're going to transition to the next part of this week's episode, and we're going to talk about our off season. One of the things that I'm going to actually seed before we move into the next segment is Johann. if you get a chance to meet Joey Logano again, what do you think you're going to ask him after racing in this race?
I don't know. Like,
Well, I'm
what
going to
was
give you time to think about it because your brothers are going to interview you in a few minutes about your off season and what we did.
Johann, during our off season, was invited by NASCAR to actually get to go to Media Days. So, Johann, why don't you describe to our listeners and our viewers what was Media Days like? How did it feel to be there?
it was like super exciting. Like, I felt really special, and it was really cool to see these drivers. And like, literally, when I was just walking through the halls going to the bathroom getting food, I could just see, like, let's say Kyle Busch walking by, or Brad Keselowski, or Ricky Stenhouse, Joe Logano, Kurt Busch, and walking in the halls.
So it sounds like you had a lot of fun.
Yep.
What did it feel like to meet NASCAR's best drivers in person and without crowds?
Honestly, I think it felt really special because it's probably a once in a lifetime opportunity you get to do this, because like, young people don't really get to do this that much. Like, I don't think they did this last year with some other young people, because I think this is what NASCAR wants. They want more younger people to be in the sport and to expand the sport.
Was it surreal to be around all these NASCAR drivers? Were you like starstruck?
It was so cool. I loved it.
Now, did the nerves ever get to you? Were you ever nervous in the presence of a driver like, oh my word, that's them. I've seen them win races on TV, and now you get to be in person. Did the nerves ever get to you, to any drivers?
Sort of, when the first driver came in, and then I just moved along.
Who was the first driver?
Well, the first driver that came in was Cendric, but I didn't really do anything with him. And then the first driver I did something with was Ricky Stenhouse. I was a bit nervous, but I was ready.
That's pretty cool.
Who surprised you as the coolest? Who was the most fun?
The most funnest was, I think there was lots of drivers from either day, from like day 1 and day 2. I think from like both of the days, Corey LaJoy was fun. He's a really positive guy. I hope he has a great season this year. I hope he wins some races because he liked my hair. I like his hair.
I was about to say, I think he was a little jealous, right? Because he had just cut his hair a bit.
Yeah, he said he was beating.
Since and when he saw your hair, he was like all about your hair.
Yep. He was really fun. Then another driver that was fun, Alex Bowman. The Hendrick drivers were fun. Chase, Larson, Byron, and Bowman, they were fun. Joey Logano, when I met him, he was pretty cool and fun. Like, tons of drivers were really fun. Daniel Suarez was really fun to do it with. Justin Haley, it was really fun to do it with my favorite Xfinity driver. Too bad he got wrecked out today, because I think he would have finished in the top 10 today.
That was actually kind of interesting. When you met Justin Haley, we had just told the folks we were with that he was your favorite Xfinity driver. And she had asked you about that. And so you told him, and what was his reaction?
What? I'm your favorite driver? Because I thought he was a popular driver and there's tons of his fans, because I thought he was a popular driver because, like, when we went to the Daytona Coke Zero Sugar 400, the Xfinity race got rained out to the Sunday, and we were walking, and I was wondering who won the race, because I heard Justin Haley was up there, and I was like, who won the race? And when I heard Justin Haley won, I was really happy. I thought he was a popular driver.
So he was your favorite Xfinity driver, and he was shocked to hear that?
Yeah.
How come?
I don't really know, because he's like, there's like not a lot of people that really like him. And like, I first heard about him in the race. If no one remembers, the 2019 Coke Zero Sugar 400 race where it got rained out 33 laps to go. And that was when I first saw him. And then he already has a cup win, and that wasn't even full time. And like 2020, the next year, I really liked him. He's just a cool guy.
That's awesome.
So, whenever you would go up to meet drivers and you would introduce yourself to them, there was always that one question that kept getting asked. Who was your favorite driver?
Chase Elliott. I couldn't say it because I am wearing a shirt. Like I couldn't say say
You could not say it.
I couldn't say that he wasn't, and like he is my favorite driver because I'm wearing a shirt of him. I have an autograph on my hat, but there was one driver.
I was going to say
couldn't
there was
tell.
a driver that we kind of said, you know what, we're not going to volunteer that information. Now, if this driver came back and asked, you said you were going to say it, but we weren't going to quickly volunteer it. Who was that driver, Johann?
Kevin Harvick. And if you're wondering why, is because last season in the playoffs, Bristol night race, that did not end up because it was basically Chase was in contention to win. Harvick ran him up the track, and Harvick that season had not won a race. And then Harvick got ran up the track and was getting blocked by Chase Elliott, who's a lap car, because he got wrecked. And he wanted Larson to win, his teammate. Larson won, Harvick got second because Chase was helping Larson.
So there was tension for the remainder of the season, wasn't there?
Yep. He also told
so he
me
probably wasn't going to like to hear that
So,
Your
so
favorite
we
driver.
played that down. We did play that down.
was his nemesis.
Yep. He also told me he can't talk to his 7-year-old or his kid pretty like a
No,
Chase
I
Elliott.
thought he had a 9-year-old. I think he was
It was a 9-year-old.
9-year-old. Yeah, because same age as you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like one thing is like, I think he said like on that race when he got out of the car and he was mad that he was talking like to Chase Elliott like he was a 9-year-old, and I think he meant that like he was his son because
Like
he
he's
said
talking to his kid.
he said
But he wasn't telling us that. That was actually from the media after the race. But when we talked to him, remember you were playing trivia contests with these drivers, right?
Yeah.
Remember that?
yeah he was
and-
trying to make me nervous.
And then he said that he was going to try and make you nervous. He's like, I got a 9-year-old at home. I know how to handle you, basically, and could intimidate you. But you didn't get intimidated, did you?
Nope.
Just a little starstruck, I think.
Now, you were a little quick on the trigger. I think if the same NASCAR officials that were at the Coliseum today, they would have flagged you a couple times because there were a couple times where you did jump the start and you even got called out. And in fact, some of the drivers looked at the NASCAR folks and were like, are you going to let him do this? Like, you guys got to push back.
That was one thing that happened. That was a reason why Ty Dillon didn't get into the main event. Jump the gun.
Yeah, and you were doing it all over the trivia contest with these guys.
Mhm.
Yep. If there was the officials, I would have black flagged.
You would have been black flagged is right. Even Daniel Suarez said something, but he turned it around as a compliment, right? What did he say?
He said, "Man, you're fast. You should be my one of my team members."
Which team member in particular? Do you remember?
I think he said crew chief.
Yes. And why did he say the crew chief?
Because he can.
What do the crew chiefs have to do?
They have
They
to-
always push the envelope, right? They always straddle that line about pushing too far and maybe breaking the rules or trying to push the rules as far as possible. And that's what he was saying that you were doing, that you were really good at, because you were, a lot of times, I'll be honest, even I was like, Johann, you got to give these guys a chance.
Yeah, you're right. Harrison Burton, I was doing it so quick, didn't have time to answer, so I ended up letting him answer one.
That's so funny.
You know, I think I heard you surprise Denny Hamlin. What was that like?
Because he asked me a trivia question. I gave him a trivia question about that he was in some of the closest finishes of all time in the Daytona 500, and then they told Denny to tell me a trivia question, and it was.
And what was the
When-
question? Do you remember?
Yeah, the question was, when was the last time you finished outside the top 5 in the Daytona 500? And 2021 he got 5th. No, he got 4th. Yeah, he got 4th. The 2020 he won the race. 2019 he won the race. 2018 he got 3rd, and he did not remember that.
And that was the one that even as you were going through it, he didn't think you were going to get it. And then as you were going through and you were saying, okay, you finished here, you finished here, you finished here. And when you hit the 2018 one, and I actually double checked it afterwards, I'm like, maybe they both got, no, you were right. 2018, he finished in 3rd. And he at the time, he's like, wow, like you're helping me remember. You're kind of giving me the flashback of what actually happened. And he drove the car. So yeah, he was very surprised, and he goes, yeah, wow, like this guy knows his stuff. So we were fortunate that we actually got to record some content. We can't release any of it just yet because the content that was recorded is for the entire season, and so we don't want to preempt that. But there's some really cool snippets of video, and so we're going to work with NASCAR throughout the season to see which clips. But I think some of the cooler ones are the interactions that you had with the drivers, where you surprised them with your NASCAR knowledge.
So
especially
what
the
was
ones
the
about
year
themselves.
that he finished outside of the top 5 at Daytona?
2017, because I remember 2016 he had won that race. 2015, I remember he was in the top 5 because I remember that was the year Joey Logano won, and I just remember watching the finish, and it was like the top 5. I think it was Logano who won. And then I know Junior was in the top 5. Harvick was in the top 5. Boyer was in the top 5. And Hamlin was in the top 5. That was the top 5 I remember from that race.
And I think somebody asked you, how do you remember these things? And what did you say?
I remember because when I pictured the 2017 finish and I saw Kurt Busch winning that race because he won. And then I saw the second place driver and I was like, I wonder where Hamlin finished. And then I remembered he was in the crash. He was in one of the big ones, and I didn't see his car in the finish. I was like,
That's wild. That's like
Hamlin didn't make the top 5.
like a photographic memory. You like take a picture with your mind. That's crazy. I can't even do that. That's actually impressive. So anyway, that was really cool.
While you were playing NASCAR trivia with some of the other drivers, and you were being pretty quick, Alex Bowman said he would give you something if you let him win.
Yeah, what was that about? You remember?
Oh, yeah. He gave me, he said if I let him win, he would give me tickets.
Okay,
to
so
race.
let me ask you this again. I honestly forgot. Did you let him win? I think you did, didn't you?
Yeah, I let him win.
And so when he was leaving, you reminded him, right? You're like,
Yep.
hey, I want them tickets.
Yep.
So if Alex Bowman, you're out there and you hear this or you see the podcast, he hasn't forgotten.
He's going to hold you to it.
Yep.
So, yeah. So I don't know if he knew that there was a family of 5 doing a podcast when he said that. So because it was just us 2 there, I'm sorry, guys, if he gives tickets, I got to go with him because, we go way back now. So
It's all right. It's all right.
Well, we'll see how close you guys are.
okay.
All right, Johann. Final question. If you get the chance to meet these drivers again, what would you ask and who would you ask that question?
Honestly, I don't know because it's a bunch of drivers. It's not like it's just a bunch of drivers. Like I really wouldn't know who to ask. Like if I saw Joey Logano, I would ask him, how was it like driving in the Coliseum? How did it feel? Was your car good? How did it feel driving the next gen car? Or I would ask some drivers, how did it feel driving the next gen car?
I have a question for you. What was it like to meet your favorite driver?
It was pretty cool. It was really, really cool to see my favorite driver.
What'd you say to him?
I said he was my favorite driver.
Wait, I think I heard a story that you actually met him before you went up to do the game with him, right? What was that?
Yeah.
We were just walking in the hall and in between like the rooms and he bumped into him and he said you fist bumped him and said, hey, what's up, Chase? And he was like, hey, little man.
Yep.
And it was surreal. Like I cannot explain how exciting and how cool and how surreal the whole experience was.
Were you shocked? So
Yeah.
you were like walking out
We're just
somewhere
walking around.
and then there he is right in front of you.
Yeah. I think it was around lunchtime.
Yeah. We were walking around and there he is, just going from one room to another. There's Chase Elliott. And the other cool thing I will say about all of this was all the drivers were wearing their suits because they were doing other media stuff. So it wasn't like they were wearing regular clothes. So you clearly knew like that was Chase, that was Kyle. That
I actually saw on Joey's
Joey.
Instagram, he was doing like one of those things where it had the giant fox in the back.
Oh, yeah, that was so
Foxworks in the
cool.
back.
They were doing all of the recordings that you see during the race, like between like commercials when they
Or
go
like
from
when
the
they
race
win
to
the
the commercial
stage.
or when they win the stage.
So that was happening. But remember, the media days for us were the 2 days. It was the 18th and 19th. And so half the drivers came to where we were, so we went to the same place both days. It was the convention center. Then half the drivers came there, and the other half were actually at, I believe it was at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and that's where the Fox, that background that you're talking about that we saw that was like super cool and like the laser stuff. That's where all that was at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So yeah, that was super cool. And I think because we met Joey on the first day, so he was there the second day.
I remember
at
you sent me
Charlotte
the
Motor Speedway.
picture.
Yes.
I was in school and I was just like,
Yeah. I couldn't believe it. And it was again, we were in this situation where we were meeting these drivers and I was trying to play it as cool as possible.
gotta be professional.
And yeah, I didn't want to like be like the fan, because this wasn't a fan event. We were there because of the podcast, because NASCAR really likes working with Johann. And so again, I'm trying to play it cool, but I'm literally standing in front of Joey Logano. Like I've never been in the presence of these drivers. And so I didn't even pull my phone out at first. I wasn't going to pull my phone out. And then I thought, oh my goodness, if I don't get a photo or a video or something of us interacting with Joey Logano, Giovanni might not even believe us. And two, if he does believe us, he'll be
I
quite
think he would have been
disappointed.
disappointed had you not sent him the picture.
So I'm like,
would've
you
been
know
hurt.
what? I pulled out the phone and I tried to play it cool, and I'm like holding it, like I'm not trying to go like in his face. And again, these drivers, they're so used to it, and they were totally fine with it. And it was so nice because the gentleman that was with us, that was walking us, showing us kind of, it was early. It was like when we first got there. And he was showing us like where the restrooms were, where the food was and water and all that kind of stuff. And then all the conference rooms. And so we just happened to be walking. Here comes Joey Logano. And of course he knows, like with us, the podcast and everything. He's like, do you want to meet Joey Logano? And yeah. So then he stopped him, and Joey was kind enough to do that. We had that a couple times with a few drivers that we met before we got into the room where we
So
were doing
earlier I mentioned that
recordings.
he would be one of the ones that he would be a driver that I would really love to meet. Was he as nice as he seems on TV?
Oh, totally. Like they, you know what, and we'll be, really honest. Like when we talk about this, is that were they playing for the camera? And honestly, once they got to meet us, and especially when they were interacting with Johann, they like legitimately spent time with him, and were really nice, were really cool. Like asked him about the race. You know who impressed me too? Again, one of the first. They all were really impressive, but like Kurt Busch. When we went up and we talked to Kurt Busch, we were just talking about, where we were from. And we'd mentioned that we were from Orlando. And he was just like a regular guy. It's like, oh, wow, I was just down there a few weeks before with his nephew. They brought, they came together as a family, went to Disney World. And we were just talking a little bit about that. And that was cool. And then he was asking Johann about the new cars and what he thought, and talked about the shifter and how that was different and what he thought and how he was excited about it, and just like talked to us, not just as fans, but like people that really cared about the sport. I don't know. It's just, they didn't have to. Like, yeah, I had my phone, but at times I didn't, and we were just interacting. Like when we bumped into Chase Elliott, I didn't take out my phone for that. And stuff. I usually only had my phone recording things when we were actually in the room with the studio, but there were quite a few interactions in between the halls and stuff like that, where the drivers were just like, hey. And it was the other thing that was kind of cool about this is that unless I missed it, I think Johann was literally the only kid there. So like, if you think about these drivers going in, doing all this media stuff and meeting with all the different folks, and then there's this kid that they get to interact with, it was different for them. And at times I felt like maybe they were a little nervous because they don't know what he's going to say. They don't know how they interact, because some kids get nervous, starstruck, and
or some kids just like say what's on their mind.
or
And
say, I mean,
sometimes they
he's
could be
not
a
afraid
little
to do
bit-
that.
it's
Had
a little bit
Kurt Busch
awkward.
had Kevin Harvick asked him about Chase Elliott, I'm pretty sure he would have went into it. But again, I think it was just a surreal thing. But they were all really cool and super nice. Like Corey LaJoie, I knew of him, right? And we've seen him on the racetrack. I'm rooting for that guy. Not only was he really cool with Johann on camera, but off camera took a picture with him, could not stop talking about his hair and the hair that Johann has, and that he loved his flow. That's how we would say it. and it was super nice and like really cool. And just the way they interacted with Johann was really cool. And honestly, the ones that had kids, you could tell were more comfortable. Like, like Kevin Harvick and kids around the same age. And they all seem to have kids about Johann's age, like Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch and
Denny Hamlin.
And Denny Hamlin.
Who was the driver? You mentioned there was a driver that surprised you how cool he was.
Corey LaJoie was definitely one.
Dylan or Truex?
I think it was Brad Keselowski.
Yeah, Brad Keselowski. He was really cool. Like, again, has kids around the same age, and was really cool with Johann, but just was cool and collect and did what he had to do. I mean, I think the thing that impressed me about Brad Keselowski is like the pressure that he must be feeling as a new driver owner. And like, it's a big deal. And he was just really cool. And when he was in the moment, and a lot of these drivers were like that, when they were in the moment with us, he was focused on that, like focused on interacting with Johann. If we got to talk a little bit, I mean, yeah, I thought Brad was really cool, down to earth, and you think about what he's stepping into as a driver owner. There's not a lot of them in the history of the sport, and it's a big deal too. I mean, it's Roush. It's what is the official name? Roush Keselowski Racing.
No,
No,
Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing.
Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. Yeah, that's a mouthful. What is it?
RFK.
RFK Racing, and that's a big deal. And so, yeah, he was pretty cool. He was relaxed. I think Corey LaJoie surprised me a lot just because of the interaction with him and Johann. And then, Joey Logano, he was the one driver we didn't do the recordings for NASCAR. And so we just happened to meet him in the hall, which was awesome. But again, he was another one where just like we just saw him, like him smiling and laughing and cracking a joke, and he was on his way to do something, and he's like, all right, we doing a photo or a picture? And he took the picture, smiled, and he was on his way to his next thing. And so, yeah, I think the drivers, it's very surreal to see these guys in real life, and also without the pressure of being one of like thousands or tens of thousands of people. And so, again, that very cool, surreal experience
That's totally awesome that you guys got to do that. It actually, I mean, Tony was the one that was able to go with Johann, and
for the record, I just want to say, I did ask you if you wanted to go.
I know. I wasn't able to go due to work.
Okay, you want all our listeners to think I didn't just say, oh, it's gonna be me. I was like, Karen, you want to go? I'll drive you to the airport.
No, I know. I wasn't able to go, but I mean, I think that either way, you were the best parent to go for this event. But I wasn't even there, but even it was surreal to receive the photos and the videos that you sent me. I was like, oh my word, I cannot believe this. At one point, I'm like, I am so jelly that you get to be there, because it was just like, you can't believe it. You see these guys on TV week after week for how many, 30 something weeks.
Yeah.
And for you to be like up and close, like Johann was just chilling with them at a table doing, this trivia game and this other thing. And it's just like, you guys are like shoulder to shoulder. I can't believe that. Like, that's so amazing. That's such a great opportunity. And I'm very excited for you guys to have that opportunity.
Besides the media stuff, the media day, where we stayed at the hotel was nice. We got the Hall of Fame was literally right in front of us. And also what we ate was really delicious.
Oh my goodness. You were so excited about the pasta and the pizza. We went back to the same restaurant 2 nights in a row.
Yep. Because
it was your week. So I was like, you get to pick whatever. So, by the way, he's got his birthday weekend planned. Apparently, we're going to Charlotte, and we're gonna have to hit that same restaurant.
Oh boy!
And the same hotel, and the Hall of Fame,
same hotel,
and the track,
the Hall of Fame.
and all of the.
Only thing is, I can't promise you the drivers. Guys.
I was gonna say, sounds fun. I'm up for it. I just wish we could have a chance to meet the drivers as well.
It's all right.
And go to the 600.
Oh yeah, I forgot. We got to talk about that. He wants to go 600.
Oh boy!
So it was surreal. It was awesome experience. I got a lot of video and photo content that we're going to be sharing on our podcast channels over the next season. And so we're super excited. And I think that just, again, reinvigorated us for the podcast and with the season coming up. And again, you just see these people They're real down to earth people. They had just snowed in Charlotte that week, and they were still making it out. And actually, that was one of the reasons why we didn't get to meet Joey Logano, because they had to shift things because of the snow that had just happened. And so, yeah, it's pretty cool. We actually also when we met Daniel Suarez, so Mom is wearing one of our new hoodies that we got made up, and it's actually has our logo on the back and everything. And so we actually gave one to Daniel Suarez to give to his girlfriend, because we remembered how for Hispanic Heritage, he saw our video about our family and our podcast and was really excited and touched by it that he had talked about on NASCAR Hub. So we gave him one to give to her. So hopefully she got that and keeps her warm in the unseasonably cold weather that they were dealing with in January and this month. So, all right. So with that, Sebastian, in 2 weeks,
2 weeks.
where are we going?
We, as a collective family, will actually be at Daytona International Speedway for the Great American Race, the Daytona 500. We will be there live to watch the experience. And
Basically the Super Bowl of NASCAR.
yeah, and this is the first time we're going to do it as the 5 of us, because 10 years ago, the Dad, Mom, me, and Gio had the opportunity to go when the race rained out. Johann unfortunately wasn't born at the time, so
he was still cooking.
Yeah, he was still cooking.
So he technically did come to the race.
Nope, I never went.
But now Johann will finally be able to go to Daytona.
So yes, we are going to the Daytona 500. So very exciting and super exciting for the start of the race. So we're not going to do race picks because there's still 2 weeks to go, and there's practices, and then we got to figure out if we're going to do them the Friday, because we have Thursday are the duels.
Yeah, and
So-
one thing, if you thought when he said we're going to Daytona, if you thought we're going to the duels or qualifying or something that's not the 500, you were wrong, because this year we're going to the 500.
Yes. Yeah, because that's been your thing. I say, well, we go every year, but we've not gone to the big race with you. So this is our time as a family to go check it out. So yeah, very, very exciting. So this was a jam-packed preseason episode.
Yep.
And new format for us. I got to do some video editing. This is not as simple as just doing an audio podcast. Of course, we have to have a setup. So we tried to do that today. So bear with us as we learn the ropes of doing both a video and an audio podcast. With that, Giovanni, why don't you take us out?
That's going to wrap up this week's episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing and following our socials. Also, make sure to check out our other podcast episodes. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Let's Go Racing Family, out.